Hello, this is Ferdinand the Cardboard Stacker, and in this quick start tutorial, we're going to look at Exceed. Exceed is a two-player fighting card game by Level 99 Games. In this game, you play as a fighter in a sparring match against an opponent. Be the one to knock out your opponent by reducing their life points down to 0 to gain glory and claim victory. Choose your combatant, prepare your attack, and boost your abilities. In Exceed, it's now or never. A game of Exceed has 4 types of cards. Board cards make up a 9-space board for the game. They are placed horizontally, end to end. 2 action reference cards, one for each player, has a summary of the rules in case players need to refer to them. A character card represents the player and is used as a movable fighter on the board. Each character has a starting side and an Exceed side. The main portion of the card has the character's portrait, the character's name is in the middle, and a text box for the character's ability is on the bottom of the card. There are 3 types of attack cards, which makes up a character's 30 card deck. The normal attack cards are 16 generic cards which can be found in each fighter's deck of cards. Special attack cards are unique attacks that a character can use. And the ultra attack cards are powerful attacks. Only 2 pairs can be found in each character's deck and can only be used by using gauge points. Attack cards have 2 different parts. The top part is known as the attack section. It tells the name of the attack, what character it belongs to, the range, power, speed, and any effects located in the text box. On the lower portion is the boost section. Boost gives the character enhancing effects which can be continuous or used in an instant. To set up a game of Exceed, follow these 5 basic steps. First, shuffle your character deck. This includes a set of normal cards which are made of 2 sets of 8 normal attack cards. Also add in your character's 10 special attack cards and 4 ultra attack cards. Next, set up the 9 board cards and place the characters with their starting side face up on the 3rd and 7th spaces. Players begin with 30 life points and decides which of them will go first. Third, players draw 5 cards into hand. The player that goes second draws an extra card. Next, players may wish to mulligan. Both players may discard any number of cards aside. Players draw back to the number of cards they have discarded, and the discarded cards are then reshuffled back into the deck. And finally, the players decide who goes first, and you're ready to play. On a player's turn, they will have a choice of taking an action and then draw a card, or making a strike. Once a player makes and resolves an action, then the other player takes a turn. There are a total of 6 different actions a player can take: prepare, move, boost, change cards, exceed, and reshuffle. Instead of making an action, you can make a strike. Strikes are a way to attack the other player. When a player declares a strike, each player chooses a card from their hands and places it face down. Then simultaneously, both cards are resolved and played out. The players will know which of them attacks first based on speed, how far they can attack, how much damage they can give on a successful hit, and apply effects if any. Gauge and force are 2 important commodities. To earn gauge, you must make a hit on your opponent with your attack. The attack card is sent to the gauge area which can be used on ultra attacks or turning your character on its Exceed side. Force can be gained through discarding cards or spending gauge. You can get 1 force discarding normal attacks, special attacks, and gauge, and 2 force can be gained by discarding ultra attacks. The main purpose of force is to power up boost. Any unused force will be lost. There will be actions and card effects that have a character move. Characters cannot be on the same space as another character, you cannot move beyond the space given on the board, and players don't count the space when switching side with another character. There are 4 types of movement. When doing a closed movement, without switching sides, move up to the number of spaces towards the opponent. When moving, move a character up to the number of spaces in either direction. As for the advanced movement, move towards the direction of your opponent. If you switch sides, continue in the same direction. And when retreating, move away from the opponent up to the number of spaces indicated. There are two winning conditions in Exceed. The first one is to lower your opponent's life points down to 0. The other is when the player's deck has been depleted for the second time. As briefly mentioned previously, there are 6 different actions a player can make. Pre-player draws another card from your deck. You can move by spending 1 force per space, and spend 2 force to switch sides with the opponent. You can boost by using a card in your hand and playing the appropriate number of force. Change cards is an action to allow the player to spend force to draw cards. The Exceed action can change your character's ability by spending Gauge. And the Reshuffle action reshuffles cards from your discard pile back to your deck. You may only use this once. After using any of these actions, draw a card from your deck. Then the opponent will take a turn. When using Strike, the player who initiated the strike is the attacker while the other player becomes the defender. There are 5 phases that make the strike plus a preliminary stage. In the preliminary stage, the player chooses a card or cards in their hands and places it face down at the same time. There are 3 ways to make an attack. A regular attack is a single attack card which is played face down. Play 2 of the same card for an EX attack. This boosts the character's attack by 1 in power, speed, armor, and guard. And players may take a wild swing by taking the top card of their deck without looking and place it face down as an attack. In the reveal step, players both reveal their attacks. They now determine if their attacks are valid. Normal and special attacks don't require any costs. If the attack was an EX attack, then a copy of that card is placed into the discard pile. If it's an Ultra attack, then Gauge must be used to pay for it. Otherwise, it is discarded and replaced with a Wild Swing. Multiple Wild Swings may occur until a valid attack can be played. In the priority order phase, determine the order of the player's attacks. Players compare the speed of their attacks and apply any modifiers at this time. The players with the higher speed becomes the active player and they execute their attack first, while the player with the lower speed becomes the reactive player and attacks second. If there is a tie in speed, the attacker receives precedence and will become the first active player. In the active player attack phase, the active player follows 4 steps when executing their attack. At this time, you may perform trigger effects which must be followed fully. In the case of multiple trigger effects of the same type, the player will choose which order in which the triggers happen and then resolves them individually. First, any before effects triggers. Then the player will check the range of their attack. Range 1 begins on the space in the direction of the opponent. If the opponent is in range, the opponent is hit and move on to step 3. On a successful hit, any hit effects take place and then damage is dealt to the opponent's life points. Some damage may be absorbed if the opponent has any armor. On the last step, the active player performs all after effects. After the active player finishes their attack, the reactive player checks to see if they were stunned before making their attack. To check, the reactive player sees how much guard they have. If their guard is higher than the total damage they have taken this strike, then they can execute attack as done by the active player. Otherwise, if the reactive player is stunned, then their entire attack is skipped. The cleanup phase ends the strike with 3 steps each player follows. First, discard any continuous boost cards. Second, if you made a successful hit against the opponent, then the attack card is added to your Gauge area. Lastly, normal gameplay returns with the next player. If a player receives an advantage due to an effect, they take the next turn. And that concludes the quick start tutorial of Exceed. You can join me in a later video for a play-by-play walkthrough of the game. If you're interested in Exceed, you can follow the link to the Kickstarter page in the description below. For more information about Exceed and other games from Level 99, check them out on their website at level99games.com. If you enjoyed this tutorial, like this video, comment below, and subscribe to this channel for more tutorials and reviews on board games. This is the Cardboard Stacker, and keep on stacking games.